We're actually in chapter 5 of the book, and we already covered some parts of it. What we are going on to do today is discuss pre-mediation procedures. So chapter 5 is where we're going to go into the mediation proper, how to resolve conflict proper. And we want to today talk about those things you do as a good mediator before the mediation proper. So I call them pre-mediation proceedings. So I read often before the date agreed for the mediation, each party sends a concise statement of what the party personally perceives to be the gist of the conflict to the mediator. There will be ample time at the mediation for elaboration of the parties' views. Other documents deemed necessary to understand the conflict may also be sent. If it is agreed, the documents sent to the mediator are also sent to the other party. Excuse me. It must be borne in mind that all these preliminary steps are also part of the mediation process. They are confidential and privileged information and cannot be used unless the information is gained by means other than the mediation process. So that's how it goes. Before the mediation proper starts, these preliminary steps ought to be taken. A summary of the parties' perspective of the conflict, very brief, probably 1 page, so that the mediator can begin to understand the conflict more. Then the other documents that the party thinks the mediator should look at, the party sends them. Of course, as I read, this process is part of the mediation. And so it's covered by the confidentiality rule of mediation. So if the parties don't agree that documents sent to the mediator should be also sent to the other party, the mediator is not permitted to tell the other party or to share those documents with the other party. That's very, very important. Very, very important. Even if the party didn't sign a confidentiality agreement, these rules still apply. Confidentiality still applies. So it's not mandatory that the parties must sign a confidentiality agreement for them to be protected by the confidentiality rule. It is inherent in mediation, in amicable dispute resolution, that you don't take what you heard or see from the mediation process itself, or as part of the mediation process itself. For example, now we're discussing pre-mediation procedure. You don't take what you learned from those steps and start sharing with the whole world. In fact, you can't even share it with the other party. It must be borne in mind that all these preliminary steps are also part of the mediation process. They are confidential and privileged information and cannot be used unless the information is gained by means other than the mediation process. I think that's pretty clear. There are probably many ways of getting information. So if the other party had gotten the information outside of the mediation room, I mean, you can't say that their possession of it is covered by the confidentiality rule. You know, that would be very unfair. So let's move on. The purpose of the documents is to familiarize the mediator with each party's point of view and to enable the mediator to formulate a plan to, one, meet the goal of a particular mediation. 2, oil the communication process. 3, ensure courtesy and make parties joint problem solvers rather than adversaries or adversaries. 4, ensure that in discussing issues, parties keep in mind each other's legitimate needs and interests. And finally, to enable parties to craft durable agreements. Or enable the mediator help parties craft durable agreements. Because as I said, the parties may decide they don't want to share documents. So it's the mediator to find a way to use what he knows without disclosing them, to begin to help them fashion a durable, holistic agreement. Now let's talk about physical presence at mediation. Depending on the circumstances, such as the nature and magnitude of dispute, mediation may be conducted by either or all of the following means: telephone, short problem, or distant parties. And so you cannot say, because if you're engaged as a mediator, you cannot say because you are in Nigeria, one party is in London, the other is in Tokyo, and I can't get them, bring them together physically in one place, especially in these days of lockdown. So you can use a telephone, you know. You can add to your telephone, make it a teleconference, you know. And of course, if it's a short problem, it's not a big problem, you could also use a telephone. You could shuttle, especially when the parties are hostile. Nothing can, like at the beginning, bring them together into one room. You've got to move from one to the other. I believe that's what Henry Kissinger calls shuttle diplomacy. You move from one party to the other until you get into a point of agreement. The third one is face-to-face, in which case a venue or forum should be chosen to enhance the resolution process. We'll talk more about all this later, especially in chapter 10. The venue of mediation is important. It must be one that enhances the chances of success. That is a place where neither party feels threatened or uneasy in any way. Let's stop there for today. Tomorrow we'll begin discussion on types of mediation. But thank you again for joining me today. And remember to make your post. Remember to contact us privately if you want. You can access me at how-to-resolve-a-conflicts.com. To take you to my site. You can, if what you want to talk about is not something you can post here, you can send it there. Also remember, you can get the book, the textbook for these lectures, on Amazon. If you have a Kindle, you can read free of charge. If you don't, you need to get a soft copy. It's not expensive. Or if you want like a hard copy, you can also get one. Thanks again, and see you tomorrow.